2020 was probably the worst year for movies. Throughout the year, I was able to compile a list. In this list, I was able to pinpoint at least 10 plus movies that I deemed at least the worst of the year. So as we saw in my last video, 2020 brought a whole bunch of movies that are definitely stinkers. But I also believe that 2020 brought us a few good movies that are worthy to be talked about. And that's what I'm going to do today. So welcome to the top 10 best movies of 2020, in my opinion. The same rules apply as the worst list. Number one, it's all completely opinion based. My opinion alone. You might have other opinions. That's awesome. Let me know in the comments. Number two, it's all based on movies that came out this year on different platforms because of everything that happened this year. Obviously, I had to resort to different platforms, aka streaming media. And number three, I wasn't able to review every single movie because a lot of stuff that happened. If you want to know what, please watch the last video. I explained there in a little more detail. But a lot happened this year that I was not able to record videos. But I still was able to compile a list, and I'm going to present it to you guys today. So without further ado, here are the honorable mentions. 7500. A very raw and realistic view on what would it be like as a pilot whose plane got taken over by terrorists. Joseph Gordon-Levitt shines in this movie. Freaky. An enjoyable horror slasher, 100% because of Vince Vaughn. It's a fun watch. Honest Thief. Liam Neeson's latest action-packed flick that was quite entertaining to watch. A definite recommend. Unhinged. The most intense movie of the year. I love this movie for its incredible performances, especially from Russell Crowe, and for its crazy story. Enola Holmes. A fun adventure/mystery film from the eyes of Sherlock Holmes' sister. Great performance from Millie Bobby Brown. The King of Staten Island, a movie that really succeeds in making you care about the characters. Pete Davidson steals the show. A wonderful movie. The Hunt. An action-packed political satire that never refrains from making fun. Betty Gilpin most definitely is the best part of this movie. The Trial of the Chicago 7. A drama based on a true story that can be very interested in its great storytelling and performances. So those movies almost made it to my list, but these next 10 for me are just amazing movies that I genuinely enjoyed a lot. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So this is a movie that I saw later in the year. I saw it about a week before New Year's. So I'll admit that it's really fresh in my mind. But it was such an impactful movie for me that I had to put it on this list. Now we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Chadwick Boseman's final performance. His performance moved me a lot. It is the first performance that I would say that I teared up. I got very emotional with his character, the things that he was saying. There's a lot of moments where we hear monologues of different characters, and you would think that a movie that has a lot of monologues that it might get a little bit boring, but no, this movie worked its magic really well. Viola Davis here, I did not even recognize this woman in this movie, and of course that's what actors are supposed to do, right? Is completely throw you out of the loop and put you into this world that you don't even recognize it's them. And Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman did that to the T. It was wonderful performances from both of them and everybody in the cast. Honestly, I really recommend you all watch this movie. I'll admit it's a little bit slow for people who are not used to watching dramas, but it's well worth the wait, especially if you're a music lover. Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. This movie was really fun for me, and that's why I had to put it on this list. I loved how cool this movie was. Now, is it an amazing movie when it comes to the more technical side of it, the more objective side of it? I can admit, not really. This movie is here because I had fun watching it. Not only that, it's one of the few superhero movies that we got here. And out of the two DC movies that we got, Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn, I choose Harley Quinn way more than Wonder Woman 1984. So it really affected me in a good way. I loved Margot Robbie, of course, as Harley Quinn. She was fantastic. I loved the action scenes. The effects were really fun to witness. The colors in this movie are vibrant and beautiful. And the comedy really landed for me in a lot of times. Overall, I had a fun time watching this movie, and I think everybody should watch it.
Run.
Run, starring Sarah Paulson and what's her other? Kira Allen. Wow. Okay, so when I heard this movie was coming out in theaters, I got really excited for it because I read the premise and it seemed interesting. But then it got pulled out of theaters, of course, because of everything that happened, and it got put to Hulu. So I was really bummed when I heard it was taken out because I was worried that we were going to have to wait until next year like the rest of the movies. But no, we got it on Hulu and I was able to watch it, and boy, am I glad that I watched this movie. It has everything that you like in a horror. Psychological horror, it has thriller events, it has suspense, it has high intensity moments, great performances, moments that leave you in shock and awe. And combining everything in this beautiful movie is what made me love this movie so much. Sarah Paulson was really strong in this movie, and so was Kira Allen. This movie was just great. I just loved it, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're a horror movie fan, especially like mental horror movies, or what's the other word? Psychological horror. If you like those kind of movies, you're gonna like Run. Onward. Onward was just such a beautiful movie for me, and I'll admit there's a lot of bias with me in this movie because I really connected with the characters because I myself have a younger brother, and I really connected with the whole relationship that the two brothers voiced, of course, by Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. The relationship between those two characters really affected me to the point where I'll admit I ended up crying in this movie because it really affected me on a very emotional and personal level. I enjoyed this movie quite a lot. I saw it in theaters before everything happened, and honestly, I had a fun time watching it. I will admit it does get a little bit boring. I felt like, okay, where's this going? Where are we going with this? And right as soon as we got to the final, like, I guess you could say climax where they're fighting the stone dragon, that's when I was like, okay, this is starting to pick up again. And then by the ending, I was like, great, love this movie. Just Mercy. So Just Mercy technically was made in 2019, but it was released officially in theaters on January of 2020. So for all purposes of this list, it belongs on it because this movie was beautiful. Let me start off by saying that Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx work really well together. The chemistry between them is undeniable. They were fire in this movie. The movie had so many moments where I found myself connecting on a very emotional and deep level with the characters. I loved this movie's story. It has a very powerful and empowering story. Please watch Just Mercy. It is not only a historically amazing movie, it is also an emotionally driven movie that really gets to your heartstrings and tries to really think about what it means for people to go to prison when they're not really guilty for the crime. Soul. So on Christmas Day, we obviously watched Wonder Woman 1984, and that was on my worst list. But we also got this gem in Soul. Wow, is this movie beautiful. This movie has some really deep stuff. I was asking, are kids gonna be able to get through this? And that's why they had to resort sometimes to more kid fun things like the cat or the little animated soul bodies, or the beings that were like shapeless. Stuff like that to kind of keep it entertaining for kids. But the story is very deep and very profound. I found myself really thinking about the meaning of life, you know? And that's what the movie's trying to do. And obviously when it comes to musical background, which I have a little bit of that, when I connected the meaning of music with the meaning of life, like it tries to do in this movie, it really hit my heart. And it made me see life a little bit different. Greenland. So, I've been looking at the reviews for Greenland, and apparently this is a little bit of a guilty pleasure for me, I guess. But I enjoyed the crap out of Greenland. Let me start off with Gerald Butler. And Miranda Baccarin. They were both insanely good in this movie. I loved their performances. It reminded me of 2012, but honestly, I think I liked Greenland way more than 2012. I loved the story behind it. I loved the idea of the importance of sticking together, the importance of family. I really felt that while watching this movie, and it drove it really well. I was having so much fun. I was in for it. There was a few hiccups here and there in the movie, but I overlooked them because the movie was so good at just bringing you back into the tension, into the action, into the horror, into the suspense. It's just really good at doing that. Out of nowhere, it'll take you on this like exposition trip, and you're like, okay, where's this going? And it'll bring you back like a whip. It was really intense and really exciting for me to watch. I just got up out of my couch and all I said was, I loved this movie. The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man, starring Elizabeth Moss. Whoo! This was early in the year too. I remember this is way before everything happened in the year on February. I remember watching this movie in the movie theaters. I just remember the final emotion that I had as I was leaving the theater. And it was, wow. My goodness. This is probably one of the best horror movies that I've seen in a good while. You know, because sadly in Hollywood, we've been getting a lot of stinkers so far. A lot of CGI madness, a lot of weird ghosts and ghouls and monsters that are not really that enjoyable. So to see a great horror movie like The Invisible Man is somewhat of a breath of fresh air, and it really stuck into my mind the entire year. I saw it a few times, and every time I saw it, I was able to pinpoint some new things that I didn't see the first time or the previous time watching, and I ended up enjoying the movie even more. The performances were strong, the effects were really cool, the horror was really awesome and really sick. I love this movie, and I recommend any horror fan to take a gander at The Invisible Man. Bad Boys for Life. I feel that this is where I'm going to start losing people. And I can understand why. Not everybody likes Bad Boys. Not everybody likes the franchise. I understand that. But me, I'm a humongous fan of the franchise. When I heard that they were making a fourth one, I was so ecstatic. I could not wait. And I sat down on this movie and I loved every single second of it. The funny moments, the dark humor moments, the moments where you're like, that was just stupid. But I loved it. This movie was fantastic in my eyes. And as you can see, it was a movie, it impacted me so much that I could not move it any lower than number 2 on my list. When I left that movie theater, it was such a great experience that throughout the entire year, I kept this movie at my number 2. I'm a huge fan of the Bad Boys franchise, and one of my favorite things that we were able to see in this movie as well is that they are able to grow with its audience. They're able to grow in each film. In the first one, they're these young bad butt cops that really don't give a crap about anything, or as long as they get the job done, they'll do whatever. And as each and every movie passes, you see them getting older and a little grittier and a little different in their tactics and their fighting styles and the way that they handle situations. And I love that. I love it when movies take the opportunity to grow with the audience. Because I remember watching Bad Boys, and this is probably not a great thing to say, but I remember watching Bad Boys when I was a little kid. And to see them grow in my eyes in every single movie, it was just an amazing time. In the end, I left Bad Boys so happy and so pleased on how they handled this story. I want to see another one. I really do. I love Bad Boys, and I love Bad Boys for Life. And coming in at number 1, some will agree, some will disagree, but overall, this was my favorite movie of 2020. So I understand that a lot of you are not going to agree with this choice. And you're not going to agree that it's the best movie of the year, and a lot of you are not going to agree that it's even a movie. And I understand your concerns. But to alleviate those concerns, I would like to take you to a video created by Matt Pat from Film Theory, where he argues why Hamilton indeed is a film and even should be nominated for the upcoming Oscars is going to be down in the description below. If not, I'm gonna see if I can put it in the little bubble up here. If not, it's going to be in the description below. Please watch it to understand why I believe that Hamilton not only is a movie, but should be a contender for the Oscar this coming event. So that being said, Hamilton for me was a glorious experience. And I use that word knowing that I don't use it a lot. Hamilton for me, I had heard the musical before. I had heard the songs, I had learned some of them, but I had never had a chance to watch anything. So when I was able to see it on Disney Plus, it was such a beautiful experience. I saw it with my entire family. Everybody loved it. Even my dad, who is not a musical fan, said that he indeed liked it. So that tells you something. If you're one of those people who does not like musicals, maybe this could be a good musical to start off with. Or if you've just never seen a musical and somebody says, hey, you should watch musicals, this is a good one to start off because it's not only really fun and very different from any other musical that I've seen in my entire life, it is a great story from the mind of Lin-Manuel Miranda. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, especially those who watched the previous video and this one. I love you guys. Thank you so much for doing this and for clicking and for tapping whatever device you're watching on. And if you didn't agree with me, wonderful. I want to hear your list down below in the comments so I can like them and comment on them if I agree or not, okay? So let me know in the comments, okay? What was your favorite movies of 2020? Also, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot. If you'd like to follow me on any of my socials, the links are going to be down below in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.